Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Octavianus Prima, and today I would like to present my presentation about the article with title "When It's Not Quite a Wonderful Life" by Jason Mars. And let us just begin from the summary of the article. Psychological research suggests some effective ways you can beat the holiday blues and flag some especially unhelpful ones. The upshot is that sadness and other tough emotions are not affliction that we should try to avoid. Instead, if properly understood, they can help contribute to a healthy and happy life. And this is a sentence that I quoted from the article, but there is no name who made it. It said sadness is like eggnog and parties around the holiday. In moderation, it's nothing to fear. Next, now here are four strategies to help you craft your own happiness recipe this holiday season. The first is don't force cheer, and the second is don't suppress sadness, and the third is respond mindfully, and the last one is enjoy your emotional cocktail. Let us just begin from the number one. Don't force cheer at family gathering. With cousin, you secretly cannot stand in and in-laws who download backhanded compliments. It can be tempting to put on a happy face while you sit inside. Indeed, that might even seem like the most mature response, no drama, no conflict. But a 2011 study by researchers at Michigan State University and West Point might make you think twice. They followed dozens of bus drivers for 2 weeks, looking to see when they saw fake smile versus real smiles at their passengers. The results showed that on days when the drivers tried to put on an act and fake a good mood, their actual mood got worse. This was especially true for women. Again and again, trying to force happiness seems to backfire. And the second is don't suppress sadness. The result of the bus driver study can be explained by researchers Oliver John of UC Berkeley and James Gross of Stanford University, who found that negative feelings like sadness or anger only intensify when we try to suppress them. That's because we feel bad about ourselves when our outward appearance contradicts how we truly feel inside. What's more, expressing our sadness can also lead to comfort and compassion from those who care about us, strengthening our bonds. By contrast, by contrast, suppressing our emotions can actually undermine our relationships. And the third is respond mindfully. But none of this is to engross drowning and melancholy or lashing out at our in-laws. Some ways of processing and acting on our emotions are healthier than others. Recently, scientists have been paying special attention to the benefits of mindfulness. When you respond mindfully to an emotional trigger, you pause rather than reacting. Instead of berating yourself, you simply notice what you are feeling without judging that response as right or wrong. And the last one is about enjoy your emotional cocktail. Inevitably, the holiday will bring a mix of high and lows. Perhaps the most important lesson to keep in mind is that this variety of emotions might be the best thing possible for your overall well-being. That was the key insight from a study published in 2014 by a team of researchers from Yale University, Harvard Business School, and other institutions spanning 4 countries. Their survey of more than 37,000 people found that experiencing more diversity, a greater variety and abundance of emotion was consistently linked to lower depression. In fact, people with more diversity took less medication, visited doctor less frequently, spent fewer days in hospital. In other words, sadness, anger, and other difficult emotions are like so many other staples of the holiday. From eggnog to office party, in a moderation, there's nothing to fear. Just make you are balancing them with lighter experiences, and don't forget to give yourself a break. Now, next, I will tell about the article related to this current condition. Actually, I just got these 2 points from the article. The first is don't force cheer, and the second is don't suppress sadness. The first is don't force cheer, which means we don't always have to expect too high to be happy, and we don't always have to insist that we are happy when in fact our feelings are bad, no matter what you are and who you are with. Because I think until now there are still many people who force to be happy. And the second is don't suppress sadness, which means we should express or just tell other about our feelings, our emotions, so that other people who know your feelings can come up with a solution or give a suggestion. On the other hand, if we only force ourselves to keep covering up our feelings, even though we are in trouble, it will cause us to fall apart. Next is about my critical opinion about the article. I think this article focused on explaining how we can get our own happiness in several ways that have been described. From this article, I can also say that happiness is what we create ourselves without having to expect too high or hope with other people, because after all, the happiness we want to get and the happiness that other people give or create will always be different from what we are looking for. Last, just make peace with yourself. And now I will open Q&A section. Let us just begin from the the first question, please.
Okay, which one is more important between happiness and peace? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Uh, my answer is both of these are important. But if you ask me about which one is more important, so I could say the more important is peaceful, because sometimes people who choose happiness tend to be confused about determining their own happiness. Also, human is very difficult to find his own happiness because a desire to want again and again. In other words, sometimes if you are looking for peace, then in a way you will also find happiness itself. Next question, please.
Okay, I want to ask about how are you going to make peace with failure? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And my answer is, in my opinion, we must able to accept that failure first. Correct the correct the efforts we did before. If it feels like the efforts are maximal but the result still fail, try to find lesson try to find lessons there. Maybe the efforts we did were not very effective, or that means it is not the path to be hated. Maybe there is something more suitable for us than what we seek. Wait. Next question, please.
I want to ask you about what is the one thing you don't like about people's attitude? Thank you.
Okay, thank you about the last question. And I think if it was me, then I could say that I don't like someone who lies a lot, because that person can be judged as good sometimes, but by what he says and he does is the same. Even though I also know that every human being must have lied, no matter what the reason is, because there is no perfect human in this world. Uh, in other words, at least we can know that each person has his or her own reasons for lying, and what we don't like is not necessarily bad for others. Uh, I think that's all from my presentation today, and thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.